Actually, I don't even see a space here for William and Shane.
We'll just have the meeting without them.
Yeah, I think we have 2/3. Do we have 2/3 without them?
Yeah,
Let's see.
we are live now, everyone. And I talked to William earlier. He may have to call in, so we might see a phone number pop up for him.
Okay.
But we
All
are
right.
live for the next several minutes.
All right. Have you heard anything from Mr. Hubbard?
I talked to him earlier. I'm assuming he'll be on.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Certainly. Y'all may want to mute just to make sure that nothing comes through.
Sure.
Am I in?
Lee?
You are, Shane. You're in.
Oh, Shane? Oh.
Am I in on audio and video?
You're in on audio, Shane.
Okay.
I believe it is 3:00. Today is July 31st, 2020. This is an emergency meeting of the Conway City Council. It is being done by Zoom because of the COVID virus. I officially call this meeting to order. I'll do a quick roll call. Ms. Timms,
Here.
Mr. Hyman,
Here.
Mr. White,
Here.
Mr. Jordan,
Here.
Mr. Hubbard,
Here.
Mr. Goldfinch. Mr. Goldfinch, as I understand it, may be joining us later by telephone. This meeting is called because of a threat of Hurricane Isaias. Mr. Emmerich, if you would please give an overview.
Before I do that, Mayor, I'm going to turn it over to Lee Hendrick, our Fire Chief and Emergency Operations Center Director, to do that brief for us, and then we can move into the next step as well.
Thank you. And Chief Hendrick, before you do that, just let me mention for the record that the clerk has assured me that notice of this meeting has been properly issued to the media as required by the Freedom of Information Act. Chief Hendrick.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Hope everyone's doing well. It's been a very busy day in the city, to say the least. Just going to give you a really quick overview of the track of this storm. I'm actually going to share my screen to show you kind of what we're seeing from the National Weather Service, so it gives a better picture of where we're at. As you can see, the newest forecast model that came out at 11 a.m. has it tracking closer to the Carolina coast. So that's particularly alarming to us because, you know, that it's not a very big storm, but it is wide enough where we can see some effects regardless of the track. We're well within that error cone, and, you know, a jog to the west is obviously going to be really bad for us, but a jog to the east can be really good. So it's really uncertain at this point, you know, which direction it's going. It's going to make that turn. It's just kind of a matter of when and to what point it does make the turn, if it goes into the state of Florida or into a lower part of South Carolina. It's looking like a Dorian track or I think a Hurricane Matthew. It's going to be more of a wind event versus a flooding event, so it's a little bit different from what we've seen in the past. It's going to track up the coast. We're looking at a timeline of, another slide here, somewhere around Monday afternoon. We start seeing some of the effects. It is slowing down a little bit. It was traveling at 20 miles per hour. Now it's down to about 15. So it's tracking a little bit slower, which pushes our timeline back to later in the day on Monday. So that's part of our preps. We will be moving to OPCON 2 after this meeting, which is just a readiness state. And if we do activate the ESC on Monday, we'll move to an OPCON 1. Like I said, it's still too early to know exactly where it's going to go, but we're planning just like we're going to get a direct hit. So we're making all the preparations we can and getting everything ready for the city. We've had a few Zoom meetings. We've had a few conference calls with staff, and everybody's on go. And of course, it falls on the weekend, so there's a lot of plans we have to do on the weekend. So that's my quick introduction.
Thank you, Chief. Does anyone on council have specific questions for Chief Hendrick? You can do it later if you like. Ms. Timms?
How'd you know? I don't know how to tell. I wondered if they thought that there would be any need for any sort of emergency shelters, and if so, what in the world will we do about that?
There's been a lot of discussion about the shelters, but that's a 72-hour plus window. So we're well within that now, and it'll be very difficult to pull that together. Honestly, at this point, it would just be more of a shelter-in-place kind of issue. If we do have some of our residents that are in the low-lying areas that need somewhere to go, I'm sure we could pull that together pretty quick. But there has been several calls with the Horry County Emergency Management and some of the sheltering partners. So they do have a plan.
Thank you.
One other thing in the introduction section here is that the governor is having a press conference at 4 o'clock. We don't know what that is necessarily about. We assume it's about this storm coming through and likely a state of emergency declaration from the governor. We also know that Horry County is considering or having a meeting at some point today to consider one as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hyman?
Uh, Mayor, this is a question probably for Adam. Adam, am I right in thinking that if, in order to receive federal aid, if we were to have damage, we do have to declare a state of emergency? Is that
Right. The state of emergency declaration is one of the crucial things to allow us to be able to get federal aid after the storm event. And usually it will back up to when we begin our preparations for the storm event. So typically we have a little bit more time to get these kind of steps in place. We see the storm coming and we've got still a few more days. This one's moving incredibly fast. So it's sort of up the timetable a little bit on us. We still have a few days, but unfortunately it's falling with the weekend immediately preceding it, which is typically when our staff would be off. So for instance, if we have to bring staff in tomorrow or Sunday to work on this event, that would be overtime that we may be able to get reimbursement for from the federal government if the storm has enough damage to be able to get to that point. If we don't declare a state of emergency, that will put that in jeopardy.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Madam Mayor, I see Mr. Hubbard's hand up as
Mr.
well.
Hubbard, yes. And I apologize. My difficulty is I can see 4 people at a time. So I'm trying to make sure that I don't leave anybody out. Mr. Hubbard, please.
Adam, I may have missed something, but did the county declare?
No, they were, I think, I don't know for sure, but I know we talked to them this morning and they were having a meeting this afternoon, they said, to determine this. I don't know when that meeting is scheduled for. We thought it was going to be at 9 o'clock this morning and then they shifted it to the afternoon, but we don't know exactly what time they're going to have their meeting. But we do anticipate it coming. With the storm, with projected landfall potentially in Horry County, it's definitely coming from the county.
Other questions? Mr. White?
Yes, Mayor. If the governor's report comes that he does at 4 o'clock, and we've already done our proclamation, if you would, will it jeopardize anything that we do? Will we have to come back in and redo ours to fit what he states?
No, it will not affect ours at all.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Emmerich, if you would like to move on with the presentation.
Certainly. The next thing on the agenda is a consideration of a declaration of emergency. And unfortunately, we're pretty familiar with these for hurricane events. I believe since 2015, we've had to declare an emergency in every year with first Joaquin, then Matthew, then Irma, which we were fortunate to have been missed by, then Florence in 18. Last year was Dorian, and now here we are with one that is very difficult to pronounce. I don't know. We'll just say difficult to pronounce. And the introduction sort of prepared you for the main purpose of a declaration of an emergency. Number one, it enables certain abilities for us to be able to move forward with our emergency preparations. We have an emergency preparedness plan. It lets us kick that plan into place. The other thing, and the big thing here, is it allows us to get federal reimbursement for a lot of the efforts that we put forward under that emergency document. So what we're looking at doing is having an emergency declared for this event that would last no more than 60 days, and hopefully would only last for a very short duration because we do expect the storm to be in and out quickly. And if it goes without major damage, we would be able to rescind the state of emergency very quickly. We do realize that if we have no damage, we don't want people kind of feeling like we're overstepping our boundaries, so we could rescind that. But also after Hurricane Matthew, which was initially a wind event, which also became a flooding event, we were in the recuperation stage for a long time. I remember specifically the intersection of Main Street and 9th Avenue having trees twisted into the power lines there for weeks. And so even with primarily wind events, there are a lot of unknowns that we need to be prepared for. And this helps us be able to do that. As Chief Hendrick also mentioned, it also, we know we need to move to OPCON 2, which is that state of readiness for the event. The fact that we're moving to OPCON 2 sort of triggers the need for the consideration of a state of emergency within our own plan. So that's why we're bringing it to you now. I did just get an email, and I think it was from one of our media partners who mentioned that Horry County has a meeting scheduled for 3:30 this afternoon. So I've not verified that, but if that is true, that would probably be when they're considering their state of emergency as well. So that's sort of the presentation. If you need more information, I'd be happy to answer it, or call upon Chief Hendrick to answer any questions that I cannot. But we totally recommend moving forward with the state of emergency declaration. And I am looking, I don't see that Councilman Goldfinch has made it. He and I spoke a couple hours ago. This won't have any bearing upon a vote, but he was in support of moving forward with one as well, and asked me to share that with you at this time if he was not able to make the meeting.
Actually, Adam, Mr. Emmerich, I just heard from Mr. Goldfinch. He indicates that his attempt to join us via telephone has not worked.
Okay.
But again, I don't know if I can be designated as his proxy or not.
I don't believe you can do a proxy vote for council, but if it comes down to a tight pinch, we could always reconvene another emergency meeting if needed.
Okay, so, but he did indicate, as you have, that he's in favor of the emergency order. So we will now entertain a motion. As a matter of fact, I will move that we issue a declaration of a state of emergency for the city. Ms. Timms,
I second your motion.
we have a properly seconded motion to issue this declaration. Is there any discussion? There being none that I can tell. All in favor, if you would please indicate with a show of hands. A yes for Ms. Timms, a yes for Mr. Hyman, yes for Mr. White, yes for Mr. Hubbard, and I can't see Mr. Jordan yet, and a yes for Mr. Jordan, and a yes for yours truly. So 6 of the 7 council members have indicated an affirmative vote, and I believe that constitutes 3/4 of our council.
It does.
So the declaration has passed with all members who are actively involved in the conference. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
There's a
Anyone?
hand from Mr.
Okay,
Hyman
Mr.
and Ms.
Hyman?
Timms.
Okay, Mr. Hyman,
Motion to adjourn, Mayor.
thank you. Thank you, sorry. Ms. Timms?
Second.
We have properly seconded motion to adjourn this meeting of the Conway City Council. All in favor, again with a show of hands, please. Yes for Mr. Jordan, yes, Mr. Hubbard, yes, Mr. Hyman, yes, Ms. Timms. Mr. White, I've lost you somehow.
I
Mr. White's
lost
hand
me
is up.
too.
Yeah. A yes for Mr. White, and
Yeah, I'm waving.
and I will be the 6 of the 6 affirmatives for the adjournment as well. It's good to see everybody, though briefly and though by electronic means again, but Godspeed.
And thank you all for being available so quickly too. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Signing out.
See ya.